So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Megha. I'm an associate professor at the Center for Ayurveda, Biology and Holistic Nutrition. Today, I will be the presenter at the start of this webinar. And then I will invite my fellow faculty members from the MSc Life Sciences program to come and discuss some of the questions that all of you have put together when you registered. So to start with, I'd like to give you a brief background about TDU. We are the University of Transdisciplinary Health Sciences and Technology. We are a Karnataka state private university established by the Act by the government of Karnataka in 2013. As of last year, we were granted the 2F status by UGC. We are recognized by UGC to provide all types of degrees from bachelor's all the way to PhD. If you're from Bangalore or are aware of Bangalore, we are located in the northern half of the city, close to the airport in a suburb called Yelahanka, and you can check us out on Google Maps. There's an interesting history to TDU. We weren't a university that came about just as a university. We have our roots in an NGO called FRLHT. Established in 1991, the Foundation for Revitalization of Local Health Traditions was an NGO created to promote conservation of medicinal plants, traditional medical knowledge, and local practices. It was one of the first of its kind in India to recognize the value of indigenous medical knowledge and the fact that it needs to be conserved and preserved for future generations. One of the founders, Professor Darshan Shankar, is today our Vice Chancellor. And he pioneered a type of educational system which said, learn by experience, not just by textbooks, and embrace knowledge without bias, which is embrace knowledge from anyone, not just a textbook or a library or a teacher, but anyone who knows about their art or is an expert about what they do. Embrace knowledge from them. And also introduce the idea of theory of change in our MSc Life Sciences program. He is known as the evangelist of integrative medicine. For the last 30 years, he has been advocating the fact that India needs to build on its plural medical systems, and we must devise ways in which they can work together for the better health of every citizen of this country and the world. Unlike most universities with a focus on just research and education, at TDU, we are very proud that we also focus on outreach. So every faculty that you will meet today in part of our program divides their time equally between outreach, research, and education. And that gives us a very strong connect to community problems and what's going on in the world today, locally as well as globally. And that is also reflected in the type of courses and teaching that we will be undertaking as part of this course. We are divided into 7 functional centers across our campus. In the brackets, I have indicated the number of faculty that we have in each one of these centers. You can read more about the centers and their activities on our website. I'd like to point out that we are a very small university. We are only about 30 odd faculty. And we have come from many, many different streams. Some of us are trained in traditional life science subjects like cell biology, biochemistry, biophysics, whereas some of us have trained in botany and zoology. Some of us have trained in Ayurveda, and some of us have trained in Ayurveda as well as modern biology. And we are very excited as a faculty to bring that breadth of knowledge and experience to your teaching experience at TDU. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about our program. We call it MSc Life Sciences, brackets Ayurveda Biology. And there is a reason it has been placed in that context. What is life science? Life science is nothing but a multidisciplinary subject which deals with all living organisms and their life processes. It's about you, me, and the world around us in all its glory and beauty. Life sciences in India is a very popular MSc degree, and it covers a broad range of subjects. I have listed some of the subjects that are covered in a typical MSc program in India. And as you can see, it goes from the micro to the macro. So you start with the chemistry of macromolecules, biochemistry, biophysics, and move on to physiology, animal as well as plants. And then you enhance your knowledge by exploring these subjects using molecular biology, genetics, and cell biology. And of course, today, no research skill set is complete without adequate knowledge about statistics and how to use computational biology or computational skills to enhance our research and teaching experience. So when we designed this program, we looked at all of these subjects that are available in life sciences. And from the micro to the macro level, find that there was many ways in which one can look at all of these subjects. You can start off looking at DNA at the micromolecular level, which is its structure, how it is arranged in terms of sequence, to the macromolecular, which is it's responsible for giving a flower its color, giving a human its shape, determining our metabolism, my speech, for example. And these are observable phenotypic traits. And what we felt is that Ayurveda also gives us an opportunity to look at the same very biology, but from a different perspective. And so we have designed the life sciences program, giving you, the student, the opportunity to look at life from the contemporary modern biology perspective, as well as contemporary Ayurveda perspective. And all we have done is shifted the courses around a little bit so that you get the full range of courses that are available in a typical MSc Life Sciences degree program, along with immersion in Ayurveda. So we have extra subjects like fundamentals of Ayurveda, pharmacognosy, and what we think is important, which is a transdisciplinary way of doing research, and ecology, conservation, and One Health. What we have tried is to go from the micro to the macrocosm all together, but by giving you two different perspectives and two different philosophies. We have designed this particular course with many aspirations, and I'd like to list three that are very important for you as a student. First of all, this syllabus has been designed to be at par with any life science program in India. The content has been taken from UGC approved courses. It provides a level learning opportunity to both Ayush as well as non-Ayush graduates. One of the persons registered for this webinar asked, why is it that we are allowing both MBBS as well as BSc graduates to enter the program at the same level? And that's because we feel that the kind of immersion we want to provide in basic molecular biomedicine as well as Ayurveda, both of these graduates would have not been exposed to either one of these in their bachelor's degree. And so We are very keen that we attract students from the entire spectrum of biology, including the Ayush fields. We want to equip our graduates, irrespective of your background, in both the theory and practicals, to be successful in whatever careers that you choose. And I will talk about some of the future opportunities we see for a student who has taken this course. We are determined that we will develop a cadre of next generation scientists who are well versed not only about how a pipetteman works, but also what is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. I will briefly describe what the 2 years of our program will look like. This is a 2-year full-time program. Many participants have asked if they can take parts of it online. Unfortunately, the answer is no. We have designed a full-time MSc program. There are theory and practicals, and we have designed our courses such that the theory and practicals move side by side. So there is no possibility of taking one point in online and the other offline. And we have divided this up into normal 4 semesters. There will be theory and labs for semester 1 and 2, and just a few theory classes in semester 3, with semester 4 being entirely dedicated to a year-long research project. So you will start with semester 1 and 2, picking up basic biology knowledge along with the practicals that go with it and fundamentals of Ayurveda. We won't be discussing Ayurveda from a clinician's perspective, but more from a practical and an application perspective. And we hope that after year 1 and 2, you will have a solid foundation in both these subjects. There is an exit option for those of you who are hold a professional degree to leave after 1 year with a diploma in Ayurveda biology. But if you're really interested in pursuing research or moving on to an R&D job, we would recommend that you do the entire 2-year course. And that's because in semester 3 and 4, you will have the opportunity to take electives. You will have a very rigorous research methodology course that will set you up to design and work out your MSc dissertation project, which will start in semester 3 and move on up to semester 4. We provide students the opportunity to decide what they want to do in terms of their dissertation project. They can work with TDU faculty in-house, or they can work with somebody outside TDU, anywhere in the world. Our only requirement is that TDU faculty will be a co-guide along with anybody else that you would like to work with. So it's really a lot of freedom and options to the student to design a project that is of their liking. So if you're an Ayurveda clinician and you'd like to do something that is more clinic oriented, we also have a 100-bed Ayurveda hospital, which is part of our sister institute. If you are coming from a botanical background and you want to do something that is with genomics and high-scale genomics, we have that kind of capability in-house, but you'd like to go somewhere else and work with a conservation society, you can do that as well. So that's lots of combinations are available to students as far as their research projects are concerned. In our electives, we would like to encourage students to take up things that are of interest to them, either from their career point of view or knowledge acquisition point of view. And so we are not limiting you to taking electives just from biology or those that are offered in TDU. Going with our transdisciplinary nature, we encourage you to take electives from humanities and social sciences available in the UGC portal, that is SWAYAM, or any other college or university that is offering a credit course that you'd like to take. You just have to get the permission of the program coordinator to take a relevant elective course. I'm going to share some of our facilities. We have an entire block, Patanjali block, that is dedicated for teaching. It comes with our library, which has been very generously funded by the Vodayars, the erstwhile rulers of Mysore Kingdom. The teaching block houses classrooms where where we will take classes for the MSc Life Sciences program. We also have laboratory facilities. Currently, these are all research laboratories working across the spectra in life sciences. We are in the process of refurbishing our laboratory so that we can make sure that all 30 students who are enrolled as part of this course get hands-on experience on every experiment and practical that you do. This is what our university looks like. It is a sylvan green campus. It's one single road, and there are lots of buildings on the right-hand side as you're walking down this road. Our campus is full of medicinal plants and unusual and plants from across India. It's a pleasure to walk around in our campus. We also have a beautiful nursery that is taken care of by Dr.
I'll add one sentence here.
We won't interrupt now, Dr. Nair.
Okay, thank you.
And so we will, we have a very nice environment for us to work in. And just to complete the picture of our university, so if you walk down this road, you have the administration, the laboratories, the old medicine building. This is the hostel building, and this is what our hostel rooms look like. And this is the academic block that I talked to you about. And this is where conservation building is, and this is where we make medicines. This was a very popular question, and that was with regard to fees. This is what the breakup of fees is for this particular program. It works out to roughly 2.22 lakhs for the entire 2-year semester. That does not include costs for the hostel. The hostel costs work out to somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 rupees, including food per month, and really depends on whether you want single or double accommodation. And the tuition fee is spread over to 4 semesters, so it does not all have to be paid upfront. It's about 50,000 rupees per semester. We are looking at scholarship options. We cannot right now promise that students will get a scholarship, but it will be considered on a need basis. When you make an application, if you're interested in receiving a scholarship, please put it down in the additional information button area. With regard to application, please sign up with your email ID to receive the application form. You'll get a link on your email, pay the application fee. Make sure you prepare answers to 3 questions. We've asked 3 questions, and these are very important for your application. The first is, why do you want to do this program? The second question is to describe any research project that you'd like to do if you were to join this program. And it can be entirely hypothetical. We are not going to hold you to your research project. And the third question is just to tickle your brain a little bit about rhizomes and why they are harvested preferably in the winter season. So please think about the answers to this question. They will have equal weightage as to all the other aspects of your application in terms of what you have achieved in your degrees. And finally, I'll end on this rather philosophical note. One of the motivations for us to create this cadre of next generation scientists is that quite often in media, we find very binary approaches. Either you believe in Ayurveda or you don't, and there is a lot of friction. And that's merely because India's education system bunches people into silos. So either you do medicine or you do a fundamental degree in biology, physics, chemistry, or you do Ayurveda. And it's real pity because all of these can benefit from talking to each other. And so this course is our response to what we see in India today. And we hope to remedy this by developing students who are able to understand both sides of the argument. This is now my last slide. It's about future opportunities for this program. I will now invite faculty to come and speak about the various opportunities that are available. Once the faculties have spoken, we will happily take questions that are for this particular program. So my first invitee is Dr. Vishnu Prasad. He's my colleague and an associate professor at the Center for Ayurveda Biology and Holistic Nutrition. I'd like him to comment about the PhD opportunities for our students in India. Dr. Vishnu Prasad.
Thank you, Dr. Megha. Thanks for that wonderful summary of this program. Good evening, everybody. As Megha already said, that life science is a multidisciplinary area, and in our Ayurveda biology program, what we are trying to do is we are taking this multidisciplinarity of life science into one more level, that is integrating that with a different stream of understanding life science or health, that is Ayurveda. However, at the same time, this is a program at the level of MSc, and what an MSc student will primarily look for is higher studies. Higher studies are in form of PhDs. PhDs can be in India, or PhD can be outside India, abroad in any standard universities. And then, of course, different other job opportunities like R&D and all those things. So what are the requirements for a very good PhD to enroll into a very good institute, national institute in India? As many of you must be knowing that one of the standard requirements is national eligibility test, that is CSIR NET or DBT Junior Research Fellowship or CSIR JRF and all those things. So the idea of this program is that, like, we are training the students in all subjects that are fundamentally required to be called as a life science masters. That includes cell biology, molecular biology, genetics, computational biology, etc., etc. And in addition to that, we are adding, as Megha said, some of the special courses like Fundamentals of Ayurveda, so that these students, when they think about a PhD program, they will have a better idea or better scope in terms of designing some of their research, which are not only restricted to lab research, or not only restricted to molecular biology, or not only just restricted to drug discovery. So this program will enable the student, or allow the student to think, to understand the biology in a little broader way. What is the holistic way of understanding health and well-being, and what is the holistic way of managing disease conditions, and how you can integrate the different perspectives of science in your research, and what are the different transdisciplinary methodologies that you can use to ask new questions. So this is something that I personally feel is lacking in our current educational system, which is mainly restricted to one way of understanding science. First point. And second point, as Megha said, we have a year-long dissertation. What is the importance of that year-long dissertation? And it is also associated with a lot of practicals along with the theory classes. So we have dedicated practical hours like any other MSc program, but in addition to that, we have practicals along with. So basically, it is experiential learning. So what is the importance of this? Because the moment you join for a PhD program, particularly if it is a lab research kind of a thing, you will really require very good pair of hands to conduct the experiments. Not only conducting the experiment, understanding the results, analyzing the results, how to record data, etc., etc., etc. So we are ensuring that this MSc program will provide you with all this exposure and all these experiences in this 2 years. And by the time you join for an MSc program, you people will be really competent, and of course, you will be at least one step ahead than many other students. So that is one other point I would like to mention here. And apart from that, so Megha had already mentioned that the transdisciplinary nature and the opportunities of different types of electives that the students can take up in this program. So the advantage of that is we need to understand that life science, though it is life science, it's not just a scientific stream. Life science will have a lot of applications and a lot of scope when it is combined with so many other fields, like, say, for example, sociology, or for example, psychology, for example, engineering, etc., etc., etc. So our students will get that kind of a freedom or that kind of a scope where they can get exposed to different types of electives, and perhaps this will add value to their future PhD, where they can think of different other streams where they can use their knowledge that they have gained through this life science, and they can apply that for the for asking some very interesting questions which are really transdisciplinary in nature. So these are some of the very important aspects that we have considered while we prepared the syllabus, and we definitely, this is how we are thinking to deliver this course. In addition to that, if you think of a PhD abroad, all these things are really required, and you can actually get trained in the fundamental science so that you can apply for state-of-the-art laboratories across the globe, anywhere in the globe. So these are the opportunities, and maybe after this, we can take some questions later, right, Megha?
Yeah. Thank you, Vishnu.
Thank you.
I'd now like to invite Dr. Nair. Dr. Nair is our senior colleague and a mentor to all of us. He's a professor at the Ethno-Veterinary Science and Practice Center. Dr. Nair, can you please talk to the students about what opportunities they can expect in the R&D industry?
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thank you, Megha, for giving me the opportunity. I was actually interviewing when you have shown the plants. Our campus has got 1,400 medicinal plant, landscape the whole area with medicinal plant, including the grass. When you come inside, even the grass is medicinal. I just want to add that flavor. That is the novelty of our campus. We are sitting in midst of the 1,400 species of medicinal plant with different themes we are arranged it in and around the campus. That is one thing which I wanted to add. You might have already undergone a very serious situation like COVID now. There is a silent pandemic called AMR. AMR means antimicrobial resistance. I work with dairy farms and National Dairy Development Board, where we are trying to produce milk which is premium, where there is no antimicrobial residue in that. It's a huge problem, not only in India, all over the world. So when you do One Health, that is one of the topics which we are going to handle this. In One Health, there are major idea is that to remove the antimicrobial residues in the food which we are supplied to us. Second is to find out that we can reduce the antimicrobial use for human as well as the animal, so that there's a reduction of use of antibiotics and antimicrobes in the human as well as the animal health. One of the major problem is that this particular antibiotics will go into the environment, 90% of it. So you will have a water which is contaminated with antibiotics. We have a soil which is contaminated with antibiotics. So there's a future. If you study this course, you have a future in such a way that any industry, any startup you want to do for good products, food products or quality food products, including milk and meat and related animal related food products, even including the rice and other things which are eating from the environment, that also we can think of an organic production and organic food supply. Then health, there is something called zoonotic health. You already know that about 1,400 emerging diseases are coming from animals. That is called zoonotic. Out of that, 75% is from the animal, it comes to the man. So these are all awareness which we are going to get, so we can control zoonotic diseases. We know that already COVID is a zoonotic disease which has come from China or from the animal to the human. So therefore, this particular course where I handle is One Health. One Health is not only that there's a lot of other things which are going to do. We will have hands-on understanding of how you detect antibiotics in the milk, how you can reduce the antibiotic in the field, how you can produce premium milk as well as premium other products, milk products. The other thing anyway, the others will tell that. If you want any more questions, you can ask me later. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nair. I now invite my colleague, Dr. Subramanya, who has the distinction of being an Ayurveda Vaidya as well as a PhD in modern medicine. Dr. Subramanya will talk to us about what he sees are the opportunities for those of you who come from an Ayush background, both in terms of a PhD and R&D work. You're muted, Dr. Subramanya.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Megha.
Go ahead.
Namaste, all the participants. I feel that the course Ayurveda Biology, MSc Ayurveda Biology, basically enables the participants to think wisely, think widely, and thus makes perfect researcher. You know, PhD, as the name says, Doctor of Philosophy, one needs to be a good thinker, and from within the you should think for the betterment of the humanity. The course definitely will enable you to think in that direction. Not only a researcher, even a good Vaidya or a good doctor must always think that what is that good, and ultimately, what best what we can give to our patients. To have this kind of attitude, one must understand the perspectives, or one must be able to look at the problem from different perspectives. Definitely, the course Ayurveda Biology will enable or teach you to look at the problem from different perspectives. I repeat again, what we need is, along with the deeper knowledge about the subject and about the problem you are going to solve, you need wider perspectives. Already, as Dr. Nair and Dr. Megha also mentioned during her presentation, we are attempting our level best to provide wider perspectives, how to tackle the problems in healthcare. When I say wider perspectives, it is not just taking little bit from this side and little bit from that side. That is little bit from Ayurveda and little bit from modern science. It is taking the essence of both modern biomedicine and Ayurveda. Actually, in TDU, we started this kind of attempts to solve various problems about 10-15 years back. And even some of the leading drug companies or the Ayurveda drug manufacturing companies approached us to get the solution for some of the burning issues in Ayurveda drug industry. And we are happy that some of the solutions, whatever we are trying to give, are definitely based on Ayurveda biology. And about this, if any questions are there, later we can take. Otherwise, best wishes. Thanks.
I think Dr. Subramanya, there's a question here which you can probably answer. So yeah. This is with regards to placement services with industry. So I'd like to point out that we're a small university. We don't have a dedicated placement service, but I'd like to ask Dr. Subramanya to comment on the industry partnerships that we have had and we will leverage for our students.
Yeah. Already TDU has working with leading companies like Dabur India Limited, Himalaya Drug Company, and the leading FMCGs like ITC. We understand that the R&Ds and the quality control sections of these companies really require people who can think from Ayurveda as well as from the perspective of modern biomedicine. And definitely about 8,000 and odd Ayurveda manufacturing industries are waiting. I believe they are waiting for the support from people who know both Ayurveda and modern biology. This is one of the avenue or job opportunity for the people who take up Ayurveda biology MSc. And definitely there is PhD. Already Dr. Vishnu explained about that.
Yes, we've been working in this area of medicinal plants and conservation as an NGO for more than 3 decades. We've been working as a university for more than a decade now, and we have extensive contacts. In fact, all the faculty have research projects with industry as well, and we will leverage those connections. I now invite Dr. Ashwini Godbole, my colleague at the Center for Ayurveda Biology and Holistic Nutrition, to further expand upon this theme in terms of what she sees as the scope for individuals who come out of this program in R&D for academia, which is not getting a PhD, but in academia, in startups, as well as in NGOs. Go ahead, Dr. Godbole.
Hey everybody, and thanks Megha for introduction. I would say that I should quote Professor Balram, who's a renowned scientist. He, in his editorial in Current Sciences once, said that we scientists are very blessed because our passion and our career is same. So we can follow our passion while being in research, and that's nothing like it, right? So this is what our course will offer. You can continue in academia, you can continue as a PhD, or you can be a very good teacher once you are finished this transdisciplinary course, because you will have that kind of the viewpoint which is very transdisciplinary and required in this time point. As well as being an NGO, our kind of university which started with an NGO, you can also see that you will have some passion to give back to society, and that also can be fulfilled because we will choose a project depending upon your passion. Your research project will be definitely chosen by you along with the faculties, and that's why you can choose to work in outreach research project, or it can be a lab-based research project, or it can be education-based research project. So this way you will get exposed to many different angles of the same field, and I'm sure if you like to continue in academia as teacher or a resource person, you can very well do that. Or if you want to move on to NGO and serve the society directly, that also you can choose, or you can continue your PhD in a research institute. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Godbole. I'd like to also now invite Dr. Mohan, another faculty in the program. I'm not able to see if he's attending. I don't think he's there part of this meeting. Okay, well, in that case, I'd like to invite Dr. Noori. Dr. Noori is an associate professor at the Center for Conservation. And she can tell us a little bit about medicinal plants, because there were lots of questions in the registration about what you would learn about medicinal plants and its application in terms of future opportunities. So I'd like to invite Dr. Noori to talk about this.
Yeah, thank you, Megha. Good evening, one and all. Coming to the TDU, as Megha has introduced, that the genesis is from FLHT, and we have more than 2 decades of experience in medicine plants. So we have a thorough experience to understand the diversity of medicine plants, their complete biology and threat aspect. So the students would get a very unique opportunity to especially work and understand about the taxonomy aspect of the medicinal plants, and to look in and get involved into various conservation related aspects. It's just not studying, but they can actually get involved into the in situ programs that are involved in conservation, because you do have a lot of projects that are running in the center. So the students who are interested from this perspective could get a live experience. There is a lot of scope when a student takes this, because today you do not have any well-experienced taxonomist in the country. So this course that is being launched is a very unique course where you would be having a kind of understanding of the lot of biological, biotechnological tools. Plus, you would be having the skill of identifying the plants, which is a very, very rare combination. And also you will have understanding of an Ayurveda. So you would have a kind of a complete package kind of understanding, which any university, any R&D, or any kind of institute, especially if you're going to NBRI or if you're going to CMAP, so they would be any government institution, which is CSIR or anywhere, this would be kind of a first priority. And the ample experience that CCNR department we have could provide a kind of a good sharing, especially when it comes to the medicine plant subject. So that's from my side.
Thank you, Dr. Noori. So we have a couple of questions that have shown up on the chat box. The first, I think, is they're all sort of related in terms of the course structure. The first question I'd like Dr. Vishnu Prasad to address is, what are the advantages of exiting after year 1? And what do you think people can do after that? Go ahead, Dr. Vishnu.
That is mainly for Ayush graduates, right? So Megha, I think Subramania may be better to answer that, right? That exit option is mainly for professional degree holders.
Go ahead, Dr. Subramania, please.
See, as soon as, once after the first year, with the whatever the credits you are getting after first year, what I foresee here is it will enable you to think widely, and it will definitely, whatever your learning you are getting in first year will help you to practice efficiently if you don't want to take up further any studies. And otherwise, if you want to take up MD, one thing what you have to understand that the MD, whatever may be the subject in Ayurveda, MD in Ayurveda teaches more of Ayurveda and conventional medicine related. It helps you to learn practice, clinical diagnosis and clinical applications. But the subjects taught in first year MSc Ayurveda biology will be the core science subjects, basic science, basic biology subjects. It will definitely enable you to think deeply in the science subjects. That is one of the advantages what you are going to get from the Ayurveda biology. And definitely with the experience of, or with the qualification of BAMS, if you want to get into Ayurveda drug industry or herbal drug industry, the techniques, whatever you are learning in first year Ayurveda biology, that is life sciences techniques, that is going to help you. I think I have answered this question.
Yeah, thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Subramania. So
add something here.
this is the topic that, so go ahead, Ashwini. Yes.
So I think there is a lot of importance giving to continuous education, whether you are in the teaching job or whether you are in or practicing any government job or teaching job in private colleges also. They see what other things you are doing, what other activities are you are doing, and there are some point systems when it comes to for promotions and getting better opportunities. I think it will definitely matter having a diploma there.
Yeah, and I think I would like to stress, so there's a reason why we've decided to call this program MSc Life Sciences. One is it offers you opportunity in public sector, higher education, wherever there is a demand for a biology faculty, MSc Life Sciences will fulfill that demand. This is from the people who are coming from a non-Ayush background. And secondly, somebody's asked me here as well, how is this recognized abroad? It is recognized because this is an MSc Life Sciences degree. The Ayurveda biology is just one way of looking at it. And we've put it in the title because we don't want people to think that this is a standard MSc Life Sciences program. But as far as UGC approval is concerned, this is an MSc Life Sciences program and it meets all the requirements for an MSc Life Sciences degree, which is acceptable abroad.
Can I add one point there, Megha?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is UGC suggestion is like we can have the title, which is a very common title and globally accepted. And then the specialization can be indicated in brackets. So the degree, particularly for any of this BSc, Botany, Life Science, Biology students, etc., their MSc degree will be Life Science and the bracket is specialization. So it will, in my opinion, and with my limited interactions with different abroad universities, this will add value because they will recognize this and they will add value to your PhD opportunities. Thank you.
Yeah, I also support that one because Meha, I
Go
also
ahead,
wanted to add to that. Yeah, wherever I go, I travel a lot, even India as well as outside. This Ayurveda biology that is more recognized now in India rather than outside. Many people wanted to understand what is the science behind the Ayurveda, because see, I go with the alternative antibiotics. In India, it is extremely difficult to convince people, and outside they are convinced much better than what we are thinking that whether it is possible in outside. It is recognized in outside. It is a science. Only thing that the science is not taught to them. That's why we are training the people, our science people, to understand the epistemology of Ayurveda, which will help you rather than having a problem with that. That's what I wanted to add to that. Thank you.
Now I'll take what seems to be a touchy topic. A lot of people are asking us why this course can't be online. And I have only one response to that. We believe in learning by experience. Dr. Dyer told you about the 1400 medicinal plants on our campus. Unless you taste and feel and touch and work with these plants, we don't believe that your education at our institution will be complete. That said, we do plan to have an online version, maybe for working professionals who are interested in increasing their knowledge base. We've been running some courses for Ayurveda graduates, cell and molecular biology course that we have run. We will, in similar line, open up our fundamentals of Ayurveda and pharmacognosy as well. But that is a near-term plan. That is not an immediate plan. We are very much interested in an offline course. This is an MSc program, full-fledged. There will be face-to-face interaction, and our course has been entirely designed for hands-on experiential learning in all the subjects. So there will be no online option as far as the MSc degree program is concerned. Some courses may be offered offline, but that's not going to happen right away in this academic year.